5?
Whatever you guys like. Since I want to spend most of my brain thinking about, chatting about whatever you guys want to talk about. So I'll just follow you guys around.
Cool. Yeah, I would say you guys want to just do some bounties on Act 5 and mix in some rifts there?
Perfect.
Yeah, let's do some bounties.
Sounds like a great plan.
Cool. I'll just go to Runes of Corvus here. If that works for you guys.
Yeah. Oh, I'm getting... I just got the bounty tutorial.
Nice.
I will port to you as soon as I can.
I love the new shield animation on the character.
Yeah, it's really clean. You can't skip it, right?
No, fortunately, it's a one-time thing. Actually, it's funny. I was talking to Eric over on Hearthstone, and we were talking about tutorials and how. Have you guys played Hearthstone?
Yeah,
I do a lot.
And we were debating the value of these unskippable tutorials that people only have to see once. And it's a really weird artifact of betas in particular that people ask for things like, I want to be able to skip the tutorial. And we're like, well, if this wasn't a beta, no one would ask for that.
yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
And so we have to kind of figure out like the value of a new player accidentally skipping versus, the beta player having to watch it again. And it's tough because we're all having to watch it over and over again. And we don't, it's not the most fun thing for us either, but... Yeah, you can't always do it. There was another funny request that that Eric mentioned, which made me laugh. He said, "We got this feature request. Please help me to open 200 packs at once." and we're like, "What? Why do you need that?" He goes, "Well, because after the beta wipe, we give you credit, and people need to do this." He's like, "That is purely something that happens." In a beta environment, and it's an artifact of that, and we're not adding that.
That's pretty funny.
I mean, the Hearthstone team is pretty similar position like the Diablo team right now. Like, you're both trying to get the game out now.
Yeah, and we're trying to think about, like, even if you do 1% damage to the new player experience, that's not worth it if, to hurt that audience. Just because of a beta artifact. Even though I fully acknowledge it can be annoying.
Yeah. I haven't had much luck with Energy Twister. I'm trying it out now. It still feels a little weak. You guys have done a few rounds of buffing with that skill, haven't you?
Yeah, it's funny because Energy Twister is one of those skills where like the very small handful of people who like it, and I acknowledge our data shows that it's pretty small. Very specifically like it for the exact same reasons other people hate it, right? We have one tech artist who says, well, I love when I can feel like I'm really smart because I got monsters into a tight area and I, froze them or whatever and was able to get more of them hit by Energy Twister than would be normal. And it's like, yeah, so how do we make the skill more appealing without making it unappealing to the people who currently like it? Right now, I think we're just playing with the numbers a little bit. Since we're so close to shipping, we have to keep the magnitude of the changes as small as possible.
Yeah, makes sense.
And people used to
It's
use
mostly
it
about
because of
polishing the
critical
game
mass,
right now.
It is. You guys probably saw like an area of polish that we're still doing is like the rate of reward for bounties versus rifts. For a long time, rifts were unrewarding, and then even now I jump in and we're like, what are we gonna do? It's like, let's do some bounties and some rifts. Great. Yay. I'm glad that that's the suggestion. I mean, Archon could have just as easily said, oh, why don't we run Crazy Climber over and over? It's like,
Yeah, it's definitely gotten a lot better. Yeah, killing the final boss in a Nephilim Rift feels a lot more rewarding than it did a few months ago.
Yeah. And that's something we'll keep an eye on. I mean, I think it's a pretty fun pattern to do a set of bounties and then to do a rift, and then go back. And I wouldn't ever want repeatedly running one bounty to ever be more rewarding than that. So, and if it is, then we'll take steps to shift the reward some more.
Yeah, makes sense.
Feels like we're in a pretty good place now, though.
Yeah. You got a ton of Tiki guys there.
I
didn't
love
realize we're supposed
this.
to kill Adria.
Oh, did we miss something?
No, I just didn't even realize what the bounty was until now.
Oh.
We're just gonna kill stuff.
No, I was just like, oh, this is fun, and then I was like, oh wait, we're supposed to go kill Adria. Hope we're going the right way.
Usually when I play, I'm streaming. I just follow whatever viewer's playing with me, so I'm in the habit of just zoning out.
Yeah, totally. Do you guys remember early on in D3 when it was actually worse to play with other people?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Solo was the way.
Yeah, and like
Everyone's Paragon leveling.
oh, it's me. It's because I was Paragon 0.
You got 4. Moldran just got 1.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I got one too.
You got 1 too. I'm still, still a long way.
Remember back in the days when it was like, if you play multiplayer with other people, like the monsters would do more damage. Like, they would do 200% damage and so on.
Yes,
Yeah,
and of course
like crazy.
your character had exactly enough life on hit to be like stable or slightly negative, and then someone joins the game, and all of a sudden you're net negative, and you're like, oh no, this is bad.
Yep. That's when people
Pretty
started
crazy.
complaining in public games. You know, people who didn't have high enough stats to do a certain level, people started complaining.
A lot of people would just try to get carried in public games back then too. I think
Yep.
upset a lot of people.
But some classes had to be carried.
I do miss a little bit how horribly challenging Inferno was at first, but I have to concede that overall this is a lot better.
Yep. Pacing's a lot better. So.
Yeah, you know, the area that has just gotten a ton of tuning over the last 2-3 months, we had. For a while, we actually had daily playtests internally where Andrew and John, Don, Travis, Kevin Martins, and our game director, fearless game director Josh Mascara, we'd all sit down and we would, play 2 4-player co-op games together. And we would, do it with a variety of character loadouts at various difficulties, and then we would talk about it. And we did that every single day for weeks. And I think a lot of how the pacing feels now is thanks to those iterations. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I was surprised that you were able to get it to a place where it feels better with more people, but still...
Oh, hey, there's a little pool of reflection over here. Oh
yeah.
Got it. Oh, you guys already took it. By the way, that icon, still not showing that it's depleted, is on the list of things to fix.
Yes.
Oh, cool.
Yes. In case you were wondering, it bugs all of us. And I think we were also talking about how I think the range right now is the range of a healing well, and we're gonna try and increase that to be the same as a shrine.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, there was a post on Reddit about that.
Okay, good. Yeah, it was funny because I was talking to Kevin Hassett, one of our programmers, and I was like, hey, what do you think about us changing this? And he's like, yes, that was bothering me last night. I'd love to change that. I was like, yay, everyone agrees. It's dumped the way it is.
I have to say thank you for extending the buff durations, because I was the person who never had my buffs on because I was always forgetting to cast them.
Oh, on the wizard, the buffs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Armor, magic.
10 minutes.
Yeah, it's really nice.
I'm out of arcane power. Great.
Speaking about being out of arcane power, I guess I told Wyatt that I was going to ask him this, but yeah, right when Reaver Souls came out, there was a feature that if you ran out of arcane power, your primary skill would cast by default, and then we thought it was just bugged, but then recently he came out and said that you decided to get rid of it. So what happened?
Yeah, this is I would say falls squarely in the camp of what I would call a very designery reason, and I say that I know that's a little bit of an ambiguous term, but we felt like the pacing of the rhythm on the keyboard wasn't right. There's a bunch of things which I guess they're more subtle or aesthetic about the game. Oh, where are we going next? I guess we have to pick another bounty, huh?
Battlefields
Go
of Eternity.
clockwise.
Oh,
Sure.
Yeah, Battlefields of Eternity, I suppose. Nice.
Anyway, without the autocasting, you just hold down. You have to, go back and forth between your left and right mouse buttons, and then with the autocasting, when you're out of resource, automatically switch to your generator. You just kind of held down one key, and I think just the rhythm of that, although it was easier, kind of a little more brainless. We felt like the rhythm was important between the two. I think it was a tough call to make. It was debated for a pretty long time internally. But yeah, I mean I wish I could give you a more complex or logical reason.
No, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean I really miss it. I guess I kind of like the mindless aspect, or I like being able to focus on things other than my resource bar.
Yeah.
But yeah,
and it's funny because I think that there was even some benefit, like even before when there was the autocasting, you could argue, yeah, but a really good player is going to pool up their resource, right, and burst it down all at once. It's just with certain classes and a lot of builds, we just found that just wasn't the case. You were 99% as effective, possibly even more effective, because you didn't have to worry about timing issues to just hold down the button.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, there's another pool.
Yeah. I'm not gonna steal it this time because of the range. My chest keeps spamming one word.
Yeah, I thought the pool idea was really cool. Because yeah, you kind of added a death penalty, but you still make it feel like more of a reward than a penalty.
Yeah, that idea, it came in pretty hot, obviously. It was a recent addition during the beta. Yeah, it was a recent addition during the beta, but I'm pretty happy with how it worked out. There was a lot of call for a survival bonus, and this felt like the right way to do it. So.
And my chat really wants to ask about the ladder system. Do you have anything to say about this right now?
Yes. Let me think about that for a second. Sorry, it's hard. I don't know how you guys do it. How do you guys play and talk at the same time? This is amazing. I mean, I'm just not used to it.
You get used to it.
So the way that I play when I'm at home is I actually either turn on a stream or I listen to some podcasts, and like I'm just totally silent, right? And I listen and I take it all in, and I tend to be very introspective, and I still like mentally zone out a little bit, which is kind of nice. It's a nice relaxing vibe.
Yeah.
But ladders. So I think you've probably heard this before. I'll say it again. It's something we would love to do. I know that's like the company line, but it's true, right? It's 100% true. Is that there's a lot of really good things about ladders, and I actually prefer calling them seasons more than ladders, because I think it really depends on why people want the feature. Some people, when they hear ladder, they think competitive climb to see who can be number one. But for me, in Diablo 2, a lot of what made a ladder appealing had nothing to do with the race for me. It had to do with the economy reset. It had to do with my friends and I all love Diablo 2, but we're all playing other games right now, and it was an excuse and a reason for us to all fire it up again at the same time and re-enjoy the content together, right? It's like all sorts of other reasons to have it.
Like the ladder season in Diablo 2 were like always the reason to come back to the game, Like every time there was a new patch or a new ladder season, you would like ask your friends, get together and play the game. And that was so enjoyable to like start from scratch, just play it again.
Yes, and I think the fresh economy helps with that. So that's why I think of them more as seasons. Is I think if you say seasons, you're kind of touching more on those sides of things, like come back, or you could call them server resets. Except we don't have server resets in that context, but that's that's kind of the mentality there. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, I love those aspects of it. I think we want to look at how many people would be interested in something like that. It's all development effort, right? Would people like to see seasons more than like another Uber Diablo event, for example. Like if we were, and it's all a matter like we can't. There's 100 things on our wish list, and we have to pick what should we do next. And I think Seasons is up there, but if you look at the data for participation rates and ladder in Diablo 2. I mean, it certainly wasn't adopted by 100% of players. I mean, I don't think it was adopted by even 50, because for a lot of people, it's really, really hard to walk away from your investment. Like, you're like, well, my investment in my super powerful character is my whole reason for playing. I'm never going to take part in a reset economy. So we're just, trying to gauge, how can we deliver the most value to the most number of our players.
Now, what about the suggestion with at the end of each season, you get to move your loot that you acquire during the season to your non-ladder character?
Definitely. So actually, that's interesting. Is what do I get for participating in a season, right? Is it nothing? I mean, I think a valid option is nothing. You don't get anything. You do it if you think it'll be fun. I think though, some people would like an achievement. Some people would like a cosmetic reward. And when I look at Diablo 2, they had rune words that were specific to the ladder, right? And that was really popular because, like, oh, cool, yeah, I would love to check out these ladder exclusive rune words. And I think it's nice if we can provide just enough of a carrot to get people to say, I wasn't going to re-roll a new character in the ladder season, but because this is just compelling enough to do it. And then after they've done it, they're like, hey, guess what? I had a really good time. So.
Yeah. Well, I can say from probably the data that we've seen from our viewers is most people would be pretty crazy excited about ladders.
Yeah. I think it'll add a lot of depth, I think, to the game long term, because a lot of people can just keep repeating it over and over again instead of, they do X, Y, and Z and that's it. They get to the quote-unquote end game.
Yeah.
And kind of just stop?
Well, let me ask you guys. So I kind of mentioned, like, some people like the race to the top. Some people like the excuse to just, have them and their friends all start new characters at the same time or come back to Diablo. What are your reasons? What are the most important reasons to you guys for having the feature?
I really like playing games like this competitively, but don't always have the time to do that. So it's nice when I can just spend like a couple weeks or the first month of a ladder reset, like really grinding out, be, one of the top players, have some of the best gear, and then when I get busy again, I don't have to worry about falling so far behind that I can't catch back up again.
I think of it as something that players can always do, regardless of the content that's out there. Just like, just hardcore into softcore, and there's also seasons, ladders.
Okay.
So more options, more gameplay options, I would say.
It also seems like it allows you to let items drop a little bit faster if you know there's going to be a reset.
Right. Unless, of course, it rolls back into the main economy.
Right. But then it's bound, right? So.
True. And maybe that's your reward for participating in a season.
Your personal items that you get as a reward.
Right.
Oh, Cindercoat.
I'm getting hooked up on legendaries right now.
Oh man, Cindercoat.
You just have to play with the devs. That's how you get all the legendaries, I think.
I had a legendary drop for me right now, and my bags were full, so I started emptying it. And then as soon as I emptied my bag, picked up the legendary, I thought to myself, wait a minute. This isn't my live account. I just have all these habits, like I have to pick up a legendary. I can't leave it behind, even though I think this character is being deleted, after today.
So they just hooked you up with this overpowered character.
Just for today. Yeah.
For today, huh?
Sorry, I was looking at my...
I died for the same reason. I was trying to show my viewers Wyatt's gear, because it's crazy.
All right. Wyatt's overpowered witch doctor.
Yeah. Let's see if I can...
I have another question, and it's about, like, before Reaper Souls releases, you plan to, like, add the patch 2.1 or something to the live servers. Do you have any estimate when it's gonna be?
No, I wish I could, but I think right now it really depends on exactly what goes into it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we've been talking and planning and thinking about what that should be, and we have lots of ideas, but I think we usually like to try to figure out, what is the best content or features or whatever, or just reactively balancing potentially, figure that out first, and then maybe figure out a timeline, and then if the timeline's too far out, then maybe we split it up into 2 small patches or whatever. But definitely look at the feature list first.
Because a lot of people told me like they wanna like play this patch first before they decide if they're gonna purchase Reaper of Souls, because they wanna know like what's new, what's coming. So like kind of like as a teaser of like what's more even.
Right. Well, I mean, the answer is obvious. Everyone should get the expansion.
There you go. I saw that people who get the expansion are getting more stash space, huh?
Yes. I unfortunately don't know a lot of details about that. I wasn't involved in that particular part of the conversation, which I'm totally fine with. I mean, I've been busy working on classes and other stuff. But yeah, I guess there's just a lot of stuff to hold now, right? You got all your legendary items, which you want to hold on to. You got your twink gear. There's just a lot of things to hold compared to before.
One set for every elemental type.
Granted, I think you could probably argue that before you had to have a place for all your auction house items, and you probably don't need space for that anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
But I think the number of more things that people will want to hold onto is greater than what you were holding onto before. So.
Yeah, but we get a new stash tab, so it's fine.
Yeah. I'm always a little, as a player, I always want more and more and more stash space. As a designer, I'm wary, because if you just add stash space infinitely, then all of a sudden, there is just a point of too much. Like, I have to sort through my inventory and
exactly.
So there's this like small incremental cost that you end up paying, even though every step of the way you thought to yourself, yeah, I'd love one more row, one more tab,
Yeah. I
That's
find
exactly how I see it.
sometimes when I have too much space, it's just a curse, because I end up, just getting completely disorganized and.
Yeah, totally.
It's true.
Yep, that's a dilemma. So. But sometimes we also we say, hey, if players have so many items that they love, good problem to have. Good problem to have compared to not having any items that you love.
Yeah. So I know viewers are going to be wondering. I know you probably don't have much to say about it, but have you guys had any recent thoughts on PvP, or maybe something that would take the place of PvP?
I personally have not. I mean, I've had a few loose thoughts. I think the biggest realization for me, I was a huge, internal cheerleader for PvP for a long time, and we had our internal prototypes, and we had the BlizzCon stuff that we showed. And what I've said this before, but I'll say it again, especially for some people who might not have heard it. I'm sure you guys have heard it before, and I was talking about this at BlizzCon, is the amount of power and style of gameplay and the legendary items that we try to make for PvE, I worry are incompatible with PvP. Like, you have design goals, and you can't always, design is about trade-offs. And I worry that direct PvP, if we try to support it, would cost us. And I used the Witch Doctor passive as an example, the one that makes your Locust Swarm and Haunt last forever. And I'm like, we can't have that in PvP. You can't have these really potent dots last forever. And then you look at all the legendary items that we create. We don't want to limit. We don't want to put boundaries on the legendary items that we can make that make you feel awesome and are very exciting to use in PvE. So I think when we talk about PvP, oh wait, do we have to teleport to another area? I have to.
Yeah, go into. Yeah, Jaetch was the only one that realized we're still just walking around killing stuff.
Jaetch is on it. Yeah, Moldran and I are like pew pew pew.
But yeah, you could teleport to me or Jaetch. So,
but I do know that people have talked a lot about like integrating PvE components, right?
Yeah.
And I do think that that's a wiser direction. You know, really embrace the fact that it's like, okay, look, given that PvE is always going to be a priority, you know, like if PvE is simply not, you know, will always take the front seat, and PvP has to ride as a passenger, then what does that look like? You know, what does it look like if your skills are potentially unbalanced? What does it look like if players can teleport around so fast that it's disorienting for the other player to try and get, you know, a lock on them? You know, and so these PvEVP ideas certainly seem like one direction to look at.
Yeah. I guess you still have some of the same problems if you have direct player versus player, though, right? Or, so I'm sorry, PvPvE, would that be like a MOBA type game, or would that be more like competitive PvE?
You know what? I don't know, and I think that's really the question, and the reason why it's just been why we constantly say we'd like to do something, is because we haven't figured out exactly what that means. I think you know, something, you know, I don't know how to say it. Like the PvE race, right? So we have had prototypes where it's like, you're in one tower, I'm in another tower, let's see who can clear it faster. And we had
awesome. Yes. I wasn't even gonna ask about prototypes. I didn't think you'd tell us, but that sounds really cool. Sorry.
People kind of did that with the bounties when they were split forming. They were seeing who can clear the bounties faster on the same map.
Right.
Huh.
And so I think that I mean, that's the kind of thing that we should be thinking about, right? And we should be looking more at. We had some of our events. You know how, like, I can't think of any examples off the top of my head, but we definitely prototyped some events internally where it's like you have 60 seconds to kill as many monsters as you can, and they're just going to spawn, and the more you kill, the more will spawn. And we see how many you can kill. And that's pretty fun.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of it is looking at, you know, what is the best way to deliver that experience? Like, do I actually need two literal towers that people both, that two teams run down at the same time, or is it better to have, you know, okay, I'm going to throw something out there, and I really hope, like, I'm kind of reluctant to put this out there, but you know, it's come up, like, okay. I preface this by saying, please keep in mind that sometimes we talk about ideas only because we're brainstorming. Don't at all assume that this is happening anytime in the 10 years, okay? But it is, you know, the kind of thing that we talk about.
Okay.
Is what if there was a dungeon, like a almost like a rift, and we stored the layout of that rift, and the randomness of that rift is all fixed for 1 week, and then there's a leaderboard. And we say who can clear the rift the fastest, and you got, you know, there's a predictable layout, and you can kind of spend the whole week optimizing your build and your party composition to try and beat, you know, knowing exactly what that rift layout is going to be. And then there's just, you kind of say, oh well, this team did it in 12 minutes and 48 seconds. Congrats to them.
Yeah.
That'd be really cool.
It's kind of like similar to the challenge mode idea of World of Warcraft.
Yes, yeah.
I have to say, it's really awesome because of Reaper of Souls, like, the game right now is awesome. It's so much fun to play. Like, killing monsters is like one of the best experiences ever because, I mean, compared to other action RPGs, like, everything is fast, everything's fluent, the graphics are awesome. It's really fun to play, you know? And then, like, I think with Reaper of Souls, like, it has the fundamentation and the base for, like, all those additional things. For example, one thing that you described just right now. And I think that's really cool to see, like, how the game could really evolve in the future.
Yeah, I have to reiterate, we're not doing anything like that right now. That's not a feature announcement. That is one of many ideas that we talk about. And again, like I said, we have 100 ideas on the wall, and we have to sit here and say, okay, are we going to do what I just described, or are we going to do seasons, right? Or are we going to explore some completely different kind of PvP? And we have to really weigh or are we going to make more legendary items? Maybe that's what people actually want. So it's a balancing act. So where are we going next? What's going on?
Let's do Rift.
Yeah.
How do you plan to get information? Like, do you plan to do polls about those things, or do you plan to handle it internally? Like to get the feedback from the community, because that's I think something where also we streamers could maybe help, because we have some reach. Also like Reddit, I think that's something where the community could really help to like get those ideas up. Like, what does the player base really want? Because I think that's kind of like, we call it a stick information. It's hard for like the players actually to know what they want themselves,
Yeah, so right now the focus is on getting Reaper out the door, because I think that if there's one thing I've learned is that sometimes your best laid plans can go awry. So we need to ship the game and then see how people actually play and experience it. The exact way that, for example, with the original launch of Diablo 3, we added Paragon levels in a patch. And that was because looking at the way people played and experienced the game and enjoyed the game, it was obvious that we needed something like Paragons added, right? We added the 4 Archon recipes, which I think was a really, and Demonic Essences, that was a big deal.
Yeah.
And we added the Uber Diablo event and the Hellfire Ring. So I think it's kind of a mix of like looking at how the game actually plays out versus what you thought was going to happen. And we have our guesses and our predictions, but I'd say you never really know for sure, and you don't want to commit too much. So we'll see. We'll definitely be playing ourselves and reading forums and talking with community and such as yourselves to figure out what needs to be worked on next.
Nice.
Something.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say that prototype idea you gave us was exciting. Not because we think it's gonna happen. I think we understand it's not gonna happen. Yeah. But just that you're thinking about that kind of stuff, I think is really refreshing for a lot of us, because I think there's probably a lot of people who are worried that what we're seeing is all the ideas you guys have. So
yeah, I mean, I could talk for hours on things that we would like to do. We'd like to make the socketing game more interesting, right? We would like to have more legendary items. We would like to,
Any crazy ideas out there that get thrown around? Like really big changes, or I don't know how much you want to talk about that stuff. But
I think one of the things, and this is sort of so I talk a lot about combat pacing, as you guys know, and that's like one of my pet topics, right? I love to talk about healing and damage rates and efficiency farming, and there's that issue where like I can survive Torment 6, but it's not efficient for me to do so, therefore I should actually play on Torment 2 because that's more XP or loot per hour.
Yeah.
And okay, well, what does Torment 2 feel like? Are you actually being threatened? What kind of build? And I think that like if Torment 6 were the most profitable for your character, does that mean that you're playing a highly defensive build? Like, I think those problems are interesting, and I feel like there's more to explore there. Can the game be more than just what Torment level is the most efficient for me? Can we design a system that it's more about pushing yourself and challenge? I don't know if that makes sense, but
yeah,
it sounds great.
Where the focus is challenge instead of efficiency.
Yeah.
That's why I think the recent changes to Torment is really nice, because now you're not just running around trying to outlast the content,
right?
But rather just to kill it.
Yeah. And so tuning gets us pretty far, but I feel like there's more we could do there. I feel like we can. I don't know. I'll throw out a random idea again, which, just like the previous, put caveats all over this. This is not a promise of a feature to come. This is just another idea that we discussed. Is what if there was a bonus objective on a rift that if you completed it in 15 minutes, you got something. You know.
Sounds awesome.
Right, and so we're kind of saying, yeah, can we insert, but what keeps someone from just dropping the torment down one level and getting the bonus objective? Are we just making the problem worse? Where now I want to play it super safe, right?
Well, you can tie the bonus objective to the difficulty level you're in.
Right.
When you complete it.
Right. So, and I think that was actually, I think I was talking to Archon actually almost a year ago, and we were talking about the design problems that we came across when we were exploring infinite dungeon ideas.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, well, what happens when you explore infinite dungeons is the game gets harder and harder, and then people start, like, you push people into finding really degenerate exploity things or super defensive degenerate builds, and there are definitely problems there. So it's like, okay, yeah, but the fantasy is really cool. It's like, yeah, I know the fantasy is really cool, but we all have that fantasy. But then when you actually drop people in the game, they find the most efficient route, and sometimes that doesn't match the fantasy that people wanted, right? So I know that's a lot of abstract statements, but I mean, I think like, imagine Diablo 3 at launch, right? Where people were in Act 3, but then they would make these builds that they would say they weren't necessarily having fun, but this is how they're successful in Act 3.
That's how I played my Bob.
Right, and you're like,
no one in shield, 8k DPS, but full defense, just so I'm able to survive.
Right, and you're like,
in X3 we had like this TERE, and he would like do all the damage. You know the follower, TERE.
Exactly. And you're like, this isn't my fantasy of a barbarian, but it's effective.
Yeah.
So I'm
like standing in a doorway, just trying to kill one mob, like one by one.
Yeah. Remember that.
Yeah,
we call it like clever usage of game mechanics, but it's not as much fun as like rushing into 20 mobs in a group of mobs and like slaughtering them as Bob.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of game mechanics, gear swapping. What do you think about that? And snapshotting the effects on specific skills like channeling skills.
Wow,
like
Jaetch just jumping to the hard questions.
This reminds me of the magic find earlier on.
Right? So. Right now.
I'm a little bit torn because on the one hand, I think it's really cool when players can do everything they can to squeak out a bonus and feel like they are being very clever, right? I think there's this sentiment of like I outsmarted the designer, which can be really cool in appropriate amounts. That's almost a contradictory statement, though, right? Oxymoronic, but no, I think it is cool, and in fact, there are times when we've been genuinely surprised by things. A lot of times, actually, tons of times that we're genuinely surprised by something the community comes up with, and we're like, you know what? That's not what we thought. It's more powerful than we thought, but you know what? Kudos. We're gonna, we're not gonna nerf it. We're just gonna leave it, and it'll be fine.
Yeah, Kaiser run.
Yeah, actually, that's a good example. And our response to that was, okay, fine, we're going to try and make a lot of other areas more profitable. Although I think we did nerf scorpions, because I think that was just an egregious outlier, and most people tended to agree that was just an egregious outlier.
And you buffed them up density in other acts.
Yeah, but then on the topic of gear swapping, so on its own, it doesn't bother me, but this is a big but. If you, as a player, feel compelled to do it, and it's way more efficient, and you actually hate doing it, but you're like, man, I really hate that I have to play with my UI up. As soon as we start to get requests like, I don't know, can you make the inventory window resizable so I can play with it? No, but I'm half kidding, but like as soon as those requests start coming in, it's like, oh, well, maybe the root of the problem is that people are actively doing this kind of annoying task that isn't very fun, and they recognize it's not fun, but they feel compelled to do it anyways.
Yeah, that's how I felt with the Magic Find swapping.
Yes, yes, that's a great example. That's a great example, and I think it's fun to Magic Find swap in the sense that you feel like you're breaking the game, and I think breaking the game is inherently just this really satisfying thing. But then it's not something you want to do for 200 hours.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
It's fun for like the first 10.
That's true.
We were talking a little bit about game modes, and I was just going to throw an idea out here so you could tell me why, so you could maybe find some of the holes in my idea. But what about a challenge mode where you went through a dungeon that got increasingly difficult, but the difficulty was capped at a certain point, and the goal was to see how far you could get in 15 minutes?
I think that's very reasonable. I think that maybe you'd want to think about, is it bragging rights, or is there concrete rewards for going farther?
I feel like the real draw for me would be the bragging rights.
Yeah.
So maybe the reward wouldn't have to be that big. But
cool,
I wonder.
So maybe there's like a little spot on your profile inspection or your armory page that says the farthest you got or something.
Yeah. And then when you're like looking for people for your clan or looking to people to group up with, instead of just going by their gear to determine how good they are, you could kind of use that as a guideline.
Yeah, I like that. I think that should totally be on the list. In fact, I think it is. But like I said, it's a prioritization issue. So we'll take that and we'll move it up the priority list.
Awesome.
Because Archon said so.
Yes.
Like after Reaper of Souls launch for like the rest of the year, do you plan to add other updates to Diablo, or do you just like fix bugs then? Also in the future of Reaper of Souls or for Diablo after the release of the expansion?
I believe so. I'm not the ultimate authority on this. It's that sort of strategic level decision regarding the franchise would be up to probably Josh and Kevin. But my impression is the same as for any Blizzard game, that we want to support it. I mean, I can't think of a Blizzard game that Blizzard hasn't stood behind and continued to work on. For at least I mean,
Diablo 2 was getting patches like even many years after release.
Yeah. Oh, totally. I mean, we want to stand behind the game, right? Simple. So there'll definitely be something. I think you can. Or let me rephrase the answer a little bit. There'll definitely be more than just bug fixes. But the only question is what does this more than bug fixes look like?
Yeah.
Yeah, content patches, and if it's content patches, what's on your to-do list, right? Priority list.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think you could probably look at the live support we gave to the original game. Like I mentioned, we did class updates. We did the Uber Diablo event. We did Paragon. So I think we, I would expect something along those lines. Maybe more, maybe less. I mean, it's hard to put a number on amount of support. I don't know how to quantify it, but I play the game as a player, right? And as a player, I love patch day, right?
Yeah, me too.
That's an exciting day, and so I would like to see that.
I mean, even as a dev, you should love patch day, because I assume that a lot of people come back like every time there's a patch. So like the active player numbers probably go up every time there's a patch.
Yeah. I mean, I get the most satisfaction from knowing that lots of people are enjoying playing a game that I worked on. That is very satisfying.
That's really cool. I guess how much you're able to patch in might depend on when or if you're working on the next expansion.
I have no idea.
Next expansion already, huh?
One question a lot of people are interested in, but I don't know if you can talk anything about it, is people are talking about Imperious wings. Like, you know, if the original Diablo 3, there was like this collector's edition which gave you wings for the character. And apparently people data mined or something about Imperious wings. Do you know anything about that?
I don't know anything about it. Sorry, I would totally say something if I knew anything about it, but I realistically don't. Over the last, my last week has been spent on the classes. There was a round of class changes, and so my last week has been on that. So is this a recent thing?
Yeah, I think it's just 2 days ago.
Like 1 or 2 days ago.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I'd tell you if I knew more, but I don't.
Silence. I can't believe none of us have something to say. I got to think of. I had like a million questions coming into this. So.
Well, you know, I was just mentioning the class changes, and I know that people were pretty surprised at some of the Witch Doctor changes. We kind of I'll use, yeah, we nerfed mana regen passives a little bit, and people were saying like, oh, well, that was the only thing that made Witch Doctor mana regen usable, and you know, I understand that point of view. When we were looking at the data, we found that just a lot of Witch Doctors were completely foregoing any of their signature spells at all. And we're kind of looking at that. And I think what happens is let's say that someone were to make the statement, you know, Witch Doctor mana is broken. And I think that it really depends on your definition of what, like, broken and correct behavior is supposed to look like. And I think for a lot of people, correct behavior means that I can spam bears until the monster is dead without running out of mana, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, if that's your definition of working correctly, then, you know, then yeah, I think we have different definitions of working correctly, because no other class really necessarily gets to do that, right? The wizard to a lesser or greater extent, it depends on your particular builds, but Zombie Bears is one of the most mana-intensive spamming skills on the Witch Doctor, so you can't really compare it to Elemental Arrow. It'd be kind of like a Demon Hunter saying, yeah, man, I can't spam Cluster Arrow until I'm out of hatred. and it's totally broken because the monster's not dead yet and I'm out of hatred. You know, that's not reasonable. Now, I'm hyperboling a little bit because I actually do, where I think the sentiment comes from is that on live, you can spam Zombie Bears until the monster is dead. So from that point of view, it is broken, and I recognize that, and I play a Witch Doctor a lot. I love playing my Witch Doctor, and that's the way I play my Witch Doctor on live. But again, we're trying to get away from these like single skill spamming builds, and we really want, you know, the highest, you know, effectiveness to come from somebody who is well leveraging 6 skills. And so if you choose to spam Zombie Bears, we kind of want you to run out of mana, you know?
Yeah.
And people weren't. And it's just, yeah, it's just, it's different than live, and I recognize that. So what I'd like to do is, if we find that it's too much of a nerf in live after Reaper goes live, we probably won't buff mana regen back. What instead we'll do, sorry, I'm being a little bit long-winded because I I'm thinking about this and looking at my witch. And again, I'm not used to playing and talking at the same time. But and this is kind of a complicated thought to put together. But if we were live and we found, wow, the witch doctor's really, like that mana nerf was too much, and now they can't kill anything. I don't think we would put mana back where it was. What we'd be more likely to do is maybe buff signature spells more, or look at buffing Locust Swarm and Haunt more, or basically embracing the idea that we don't want you back in a place where you just spam one skill and that kills everything. We would instead look at, well, how do we diversify it and make this breadth of skills work together in a really powerful way that completely matches the power level of the other classes. If they don't, and I'm not even saying that the Witch Doctor might actually still be perfectly competitive with the other classes. And our internal math and models and data totally show that they should be. So we'll see.
Nice. Yeah, I can say I really enjoy playing a Witch Doctor while I'm leveling, because usually I'm using a lot of different skills. But getting to max level, I just feel obligated to spam zombie bears, and it gets boring for me pretty quickly.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of opportunities to add interest. Like I mentioned, buffing the signatures, and I mentioned Haunt and Locust Swarm. I think we could look more at Big Bad Voodoo. I think we could look more at Fetish Army and Gargantuan. I think that we could be looking more at, like, Spur Barrage has a lot of room to grow if we needed it to. It reminds me a lot of something. I don't know if you guys know David Kim is a balance designer, senior designer on StarCraft. And he was talking about balance for their live game, and he was saying, if this unit's a problem, like, we don't really like the gameplay that results from just buffing that unit. So instead, I think he was talking about Terran versus Protoss, and he says, we're more likely to buff some of Protoss's early aggression options, and it's like this area that no one was really thinking of, but they're like, because we think that they don't have enough in that area. And I think that the philosophy is kind of similar. Like, we don't necessarily want to just tweak the numbers on the things people are already using. I'd rather push, new play styles and skills that could that broaden out, the usefulness of all the skills in your bar.
Yeah.
Quick question. Someone from Reddit is asking if there's going to be like a gifting option from player to player compared to what's there for a console.
Oh, I don't know. I think maybe we'll. I really like a lot of things console has done. That's sort of stepping back a little bit. Having a console. Oh, I think I just crashed.
Oh no.
No.
Yeah. Oh, I think we were getting close to time anyway.
That's
so
true.
I'll have to bow out.
That's cool.
Maybe. I don't know. I think we're going to see how it turns. So to put it in context, like, one of the values for Reaper of Souls and the Diablo team in general is this notion of make online matter. Like, that is a core value. It's, if you come and visit our dev area, it's on the walls, right? Make online matter. And the gifting option on console came about because they were like, well, PC has clans and communities, but they felt like they couldn't do clans and communities the way PC does because we have a keyboard. So they were like, okay, well, how can we make online matter for us? And that's where the gifting came from. That doesn't mean that we can't do it, but I think it is like the root of it is make online matter. And so I think we would be looking at what are the best features for us to support this notion that your online experience is an awesome one.
Yeah. That's do you? How much time do you have? Do you need to go now, or should we?
I have about 2 more minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask a question about synergies, because I thought the idea to make elemental synergies between the runes and the gear was really cool. Probably my favorite feature so far.
Yeah.
Were there any other? It seems like you've really put a lot into that synergy system. Were there any other synergy systems that you had tried or have been thinking about?
You know where that one came from, to back up a little bit,
Yeah.
is they were originally targeted for legendaries. And obviously we've pushed legendary items very far. And I think we could even go farther. You know, it's really fun, I'll say that, to work on legendary items and to brainstorm up new effects and figure out which ones seem overpowered but aren't, or the ones that, you know, pique curiosity or are intriguing. And what happened during our development cycle is we were looking at yellow items and we said, wow, we made legendaries really cool, but they're also really rare, which means that for the whole level up process, I'm not engaged in this, you know, super interesting legendary item game. I'm just dealing with yellow items, and these aren't interesting enough. So that's where the plus elemental affixes came from, and that's also where the plus to the individual skills kind of took more prevalence. You know, like the bonus damage to justice and stuff like that. And that was basically saying, you know, there's blue items and then there's yellow items and there's legendary items, but what can we do to like make yellows a little more interesting while you're getting ready to transition into legendaries? I think if we had a lot more ideas like that, like you kind of mentioned, like your question was one on synergies, I think we'd probably look at legendaries first. You know, I think legendary items have first pick at these types of things, to put it that, you know.
Yeah.
And if they're not quite legendary worthy, then yeah, maybe they do go on yellows. But a lot of ideas along those veins usually end up as legendaries instead, or set bonuses, right? Like I think some things that would have traditionally been skill synergies in D2 are possibly set bonuses for us. Not even skill synergies, but just, you know, cool other effects that interact with my skills. As for broadening out the elemental types, that was totally a decision to make my skills and my items kind of interact a little bit more, get people to try different runes. I know that our tech art department was really excited to be able to do elemental variants of various skills. And I love the way it's turned out, you know, where I look at a skill and there's like an ice or fire or lightning variant. And I get excited by that.
Yeah, definitely the thing I've enjoyed the most.
Do we have time for one last question?
Sure.
People are like, I'm a big fan of binary account, but people want to hear like your opinion behind the binary account. Like, what are the advantages and why did you choose to go binary account on the items instead of allowing trading? Because some people think that trading is really important to Diablo experience.
Oh, gosh, you said one more question.
And it's like this. But I guess it's important to like inform the community.
I'll go out there and just say I'm really happy with bind on account legendaries. I know that it is not a clear black and white issue. I know that there are trade-offs. I know that it means that I can't, you know, I think there are memories, really fond memories of, you know, getting an item and saving it for a friend, right?
Yeah.
Or not being able to get the fourth item in a set. And the only way I have any hope of getting it, you know, other than endlessly farming and crossing my fingers, you know, is to trade for it. So there's definite downsides. And it, like I said earlier, you know, design is about trade-offs. And on the flip side, we just really want the personal experience of playing Diablo to feel rewarding. And I think we can all kind of look at the auction house, and I think a lot of people recognize, like, I think there were people who were saying this before, but now everyone's experienced it, that the better your gear, the harder your next upgrade is to get.
Yeah.
And if you just auction house a whole bunch of really amazing gear, you had a spike of excitement, but you just made it 100 times harder to get an upgrade for yourself. Yeah. And I think that when I think about a friend giving another friend a legendary item, I think there's this spike of excitement. There's a great social bond. I love my friend for it. But if they gave me an amazing helm, guess what? I'm probably not getting another helm upgrade for the next 50 hours. Yeah. So I think it's hard to have one without the other. And I do miss trading, you know. And it is too bad that legendary trading doesn't exist the way that it did in D2. At the end of the day, I think that the personal journey is more powerful now, and I happily trade one for the other.
Yeah. I mean, as someone who has been playing Reap of Souls some time, I mean, it really feels rewarding to play the game, and like every time I play, I know that I have a chance to get an upgrade, and often like I find upgrades, and it's really cool now. Especially with the new legendary system, where the chance to get legendary gets increased the more you play. So there aren't like long spikes or long hours or days without the legendary.
Right. And I wish, someone could say, hey, I wish we could have that experience that you just described, the experience that Moldran just described of getting all these legendaries and having a good time. Oh, but can we have trading too?
Yeah.
It's like, well, you can't have both. Like you just, you can't, so, no, you can't have trading too. You have to choose. Which one do you want?
Yeah.
I guess a lot of people were concerned about limited trading, clan trading or stuff like that.
Yeah, and so again, it's a matter of degree, right? It's I think that it's not an immediate, obviously good choice. It's a spectrum of trading, right? Like, free trading all the way on one side, full account bounding all the way on the other side. And if you allow, friend trading or clan trading or whatever, rules like, friends who have been on your friends list for 30 days or whatever, I think that it doesn't just make the problem, magically solved. It just puts you at a different point along that spectrum. And I think even if you had limited trading among only trusted people, you're still taking away a little bit from my personal upgrade path in exchange for something else.
Yeah. Well, like I say, it was a dream come true for me when you guys announced BOA. And I think most people who've been playing Reaper Souls probably are starting to come around to the idea. It's one of those things you have to... Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for your time, guys. This was pretty fun. Sorry for, I think I have if I listened to myself, which I probably shouldn't do, there's probably like a million ums and pauses and thoughts because I'm trying to put everything together. But it was really enjoyable. It was really nice to hang out and chat.
Yeah, it was a ton of fun.
A lot of fun.
Thank you as well for coming. Like, it's really good to hear the opinions of a developer and brought some clarity.
Cool. All right. Thanks. We should do it again sometime.
Anytime.
Again.
Thanks.
Right. See you guys later.
See you, man.
See ya.
Bye.
Okay, and I think that will be it for me. I gotta head out for dinner now.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Well, it was fun. Thanks for carrying me.
I'll play a little more.
Okay.
All right. I'll catch you guys again.
Cool. Yeah. It was nice talking to you again.
You're gonna keep streaming for a while, Archon?
I might for a little bit. My gear's horrible. I would just bring you down.
You must be like missing Diablo because you didn't play it that much in the last few days or weeks.
Yeah, I've been busy. I've been working on a StarCraft map too, but
Nice.
yeah, I wish I had more time for Diablo.
I know one of the map creators, like one of the most famous StarCraft map creators. He's like a German guy. Maybe you know him.
Probably not. But what?
Like an event in Paris where all the European influencers were invited to the Blizzard headquarters, and that's where I met this guy.
Oh, that's cool. Do you know what games he's made?
I don't know, but he said he's the most famous StarCraft 2 map maker.
Huh. Wow. That's cool. Have you heard of StarCraft Universe?
No.
It's a StarCraft map that just went into alpha. They did a Kickstarter. They raised $75,000 on Kickstarter, and it's like World of Warcraft, but in the StarCraft universe.
I think he's making like Diablo in the StarCraft universe.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Yeah. What do you think about the interview? I really like that they are considering like options for the end game.
Yeah, I thought it was so cool that he actually shared some of the ideas they had. Yeah, I think we need more game modes, and so it was cool that they're thinking about that.
I mean, I think that might come like at the end of the year or like in one of the patches this year. I mean, it doesn't take that much time to like, all I have to do, like what he said is, all I have to do is, for example, an Nephalem Rift, make it static for 1 week. I mean, Nephalem Rift is already in the game, just make it static, can't be that much programming effort, and then the leaderboards.
Yeah.
So I mean, it doesn't take too much like programming effort.
Yeah, they could probably. I imagine they could script it in a few days. The most time would probably be on just testing it and redoing the system until they got it right.
But it also like puts a light in on class balance because some classes probably going to be more effective than others.
That's true.
When you had something competitive.
Yeah, so I guess at that point, do you do one leaderboard per class, or do you just let some classes do better than others?
Well, I think there are various options. For example, you could make like a single player mode, for example, where you play alone. Then you could do like a 2v2 mode, or just let's say a 2-person mode where the leaderboard is for like 2 people, like which team of players gets it the fastest. And then you can make it for 3 players and also for 4 players, for like full groups.
Yeah.
So there are plenty of options. Like the potential of this game is unlimited, in my opinion. Because as I said, like killing monsters in Diablo is more fun than in any other game. Even Pathfinder can't compare with like the experience of like killing monsters here, and the graphics and the gameplay, the combat pacing, like everything's so fast and quick. It feels so rewarding to kill monsters here. And if they bring in like endgame systems like this, I really feel that Diablo could even be one of the big games on Twitch again.
No, I totally agree. I think, yeah, Diablo's quality is way higher than any other game in the same genre. They're just, it's a perfect slate to start adding some new game modes and new features too. I
mean, another thing, for example, think about this. Like when you have the static Nephalem Rift, for example, they could also do like that you challenge other teams. For example, let's say, especially this would be for hardcore. Let's say you have a level 70 hardcore character, and let's say there's a 2v2 challenge. And then you can challenge, for example, the same Rift against another team. Let's say me and Avoid challenge you and Deadmods, you know?
Yeah.
And we play on the same servers, and whoever like wins in that race, in that 15-minute race or in that Nephalem Rift race, keeps the characters and the others lose the characters. Imagine like how many people watch it on Twitch TV.
Yeah, no, yeah, that'd be crazy.
Yeah.
Oh man, I wonder if they would ever do that. Because they'd get so many people like complaining to customer service that they want their character back, or But yeah, that'd be so
complaining,
cool.
Oh, I did see it, or oh, I got DDoS, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I worry that they wouldn't want to do it, but yeah, you're right. That would be, people would go crazy for that on Twitch.
I mean, Diablo has potential. I mean, it had 50,000 viewers when it came out originally. It's just the game wasn't good enough to like keep that viewer base.
Yeah. Yeah, you could do like big tournaments at the end of the ladder season if they had ladders. Just do big hardcore tournaments, and whoever loses their character.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be about PvP. That's why I think like the Nephalem Rift idea with like letting people like race against each other, and whoever like wins loses. That's just insane.
Yeah, yeah. I think the competitive PvE would work a lot better for Diablo than traditional PvP.
Yeah, it needs to come because I mean, there's still no real like point to play the game other than it's fun and you can always like improve your character. But even like improving the character is like gonna be limited at one time. I think actually both of those 2 main points for playing the game in Reaper Souls are limited. Because at one point you will have such good gear that you almost can't upgrade it anymore. For example, Invis right now in beta, like he has perfect gear almost.
Oh wow.
Like he could play for months and not find an upgrade. And also like the fun, like if you play for thousands of hours, eventually you lose the fun as well.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest arguments for seasons. You wouldn't be able to max out your gear like that. I think also just
like,
sorry, what were you saying?
I'm 100% sure, but it seemed like that there won't be like a season or a complete reset at launch. That's how it like sounded to me.
Yeah, that's the impression I got too.
And I always thought like they would actually announce it like before.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
like, maybe a bit sad, but we'll see.
Yeah.
But there's still time until launch.
Yeah, I still got a while.
And I mean, it's probably a lot of work as well.
Yeah, I imagine a lot of infrastructure too. I think another problem right now is because the only thing to do is farm for gear. I think at a certain point you realize I'm just farming for gear so that I can farm for gear faster. And yeah, just if we had something to do once we got the gear, I think it would add a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Then on the other hand, like Diablo 1 and Diablo 2 were, apart from like PvP or dueling, you also didn't have that much else to do.
Yeah.
But I mean, on the other hand, you have to say like Diablo 1 and 2 were like about trading, and there was a lot more complexity in like the item system. Like Diablo 2 was really, really hard to like get the best items, especially after the level reset.
Yeah, it's hard to compare D2 to D3, I think, just because it's so
And I think now
old.
with like removing the trading system, like this like even makes endgame more important, because now I can't trade anymore. So that's like one less feature of the action RPG. That's usually like important to action RPGs.
Yeah,
And there needs to be something else in place now to replace that, in my opinion.
I agree. I wonder if they're hesitant to add more game modes because so many of the players just want D2 with better graphics. Most players, or I guess a lot of players, don't want the game to be too different from D2, and new game modes might feel like...
I know a lot of people like always complain when there's like any single small change, and like something has to do with WoW, you know?
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's gonna be like, wow, what are they doing? They're turning Diablo to WoW. It doesn't have Diablo fans, you know? They just want to play a game and chill.
Yeah, like if WoW has a good idea then that works in Diablo, then they should use it in Diablo. Doesn't mean it's turning into WoW. Yeah, it bothers me when people complain about that. But I really think I don't think Diablo 3 is going to have much competition. I can't think of any other game in the genre that's anywhere close to as fun as Reaper of Souls is right now.
Well, I would disagree and say that Diablo has serious competition. I mean, Torchlight 2 sold 1 million copy. It's like a really small company.
Yeah.
And Path of Exile like currently has around the same player base as Diablo.
What does?
Path of Exile.
Oh, wow.
And if Crypt plays Path of Exile again, I'm pretty sure it's going to surpass Diablo.
Huh. I guess it being free to play probably has a lot to do with that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
but also,
wow,
like,
I had
it's
no
not
idea.
just the game is like straight or worse. Like they have some things that are better than in Diablo. You have to admit that.
Yeah, definitely.
In leagues, they have more competition. They have higher. Like it's more about like skill and not so much about gear and just playing.
Yeah, I think one advantage.
Like a strategic element to it.
Yeah, I think one advantage that Path of Exile has, other than Crypt playing it, of course, is that it has a very specific player base. Like the people who play Path of Exile really like complexity, they really like challenge, competition.
Yeah.
And a lot of those things would just turn off Diablo players because there's like Diablo players has like everywhere from casual to super hardcore, so the devs kind of have to please everyone.
Yeah. Another big advantage for Path of Exile is that the development team is like much smaller. Like they have 10 people, and whenever like there is a bug about or something is wrong, it gets fixed like in the same hour. They can change it like much quicker. They can react like they're much more agile,
Yeah, and they're adding new stuff like every week, right?
Yeah, and they have big patches like every few months.
Yeah. No, yeah, they're doing a lot of stuff right. I had no idea they had close to as many players as Diablo.
It actually had more players in Diablo at some point when Crypt started playing it again, and when it launched officially.
Wow. Yeah, that's impressive. Do you think Reaper of Souls number will beat Vanilla D3's numbers?
No, far off.
No?
Like, I would say if they sell like 1 or 2 million copies in the first 1 or 2 weeks, that would really be an achievement.
Oh, really? I bet they'll sell... I feel like they'll sell as many copies of Reaper of Souls as Vanilla, but I could be wrong.
That's absolutely crazy considering like at least 50% from Vanilla's copies might have been bots. Or at least a decent percentage.
I guess not including bots.
Bought Diablo. Like a lot of people who bought Diablo in first play, like either never played Diablo 1 or 2 before, There were a lot of like people who got the WoW annual pass. They thought like, oh, a new Blizzard game is gonna be cool, but they were not action RPG players or not fans of the genre of the series. And they just bought it and they won't buy this because they got so disappointed with Diablo. Not because the game was bad, because the game wasn't what they thought it would be,
Yeah.
Someone who played Diablo 1 and 2, he has completely different expectations of a game, like if you only played WoW.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and you make a good point about the bots. I think it probably won't have big sales right when it comes out. I just feel like a lot of players will come back to it or will get their friends to buy it once they get into it.
Also, like the hype for Diablo was extreme. Like it was a new Blizzard game.
Yeah, that's true.
Like I've never seen any game. Like I've been a gamer for many years, but I've never seen any game be as hyped as Diablo. with the exception of Skyrim. Those are probably the two most hyped releases in history. And there's no way that Reaper of Souls is going to get the same hype. I mean, did you visit BlizzCon?
Sorry, what was that?
Did you attend BlizzCon?
Yeah. Remember we talked at the meetup?
Well, I was at BlizzCon, and there was like, you were able to test the different games. And the Heroes of Storm panel was like full. There was a 5-hour queue at the end. The World of Warcraft panel was full, the Hearthstone panel was full, and then I went to the Diablo area. And they were like,
yeah, I remember that.
At 50 empty monitors.
Yeah.
It shows like how hyped the game is compared to like other games right now.
No, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I guess most people probably gave up on Diablo a while ago.
Yeah, I mean, I think the game is awesome, but it's for the player base, for like dedicated Diablo fans who really enjoy the game. Like, we're gonna have a lot of fun playing this game, but I don't think it's gonna get anywhere near the numbers of Diablo 3 vanilla.
Yeah, you might be right. You make some good points. Yeah, I guess I wanted...
beat again like 1 or 2 weeks after it comes out and compare the numbers.
Yeah, I guess we'll just have to see.
10 or 1 or 2 million.
No, yeah, you might be right. You might be right.
I mean, actually, now when I think about it, now Torchlight 2 sold 1 million copy, and Reaper of Souls is probably gonna sell more. Like, maybe it's gonna be between our guesses. Like, I'm on the low end, you on the high end.
Yeah.
It could be that like 3, 4, 5 million, 6 million maybe. No, 6 is too high. I would say between 3 and 5 is still realistic for the first 2 weeks.
D3 did 10 million in the first month? Or I can't remember how long it took him to get to 10 million.
1, 2, 3 months, something like that.
Yeah.
But it's still impressive. Like, it was more than any other game. Like, it was the most selling PC game ever.
Oh wow, I didn't realize that. Wow.
Yeah, Diablo was huge.
I guess that explains why there was so much rage against it when you consider how many people were playing it.
Yep, and as I said, like a lot of people, like, they just bought it because it was a Blizzard game. They never played any Diablo before, and they expected something different.
Yeah.
Like, I think the game was fine, and a lot of people who played it said the game was fine. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't a revolution, but it was a solid, really solid game in my opinion.
I think it was a really high quality game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it just...
If you look at the graphics, at the combat and everything, there's a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, they just did many things wrong, and the auction house, I think, was more like an experience for like future Blizzard games as well.
Yeah.
Like, it was the first Blizzard game that actually had a cash shop, an auction house, where you can buy and trade items directly with real money.
Yeah. I think the big mistake they made was not doing a full beta.
Yeah, exactly. But they did this, like, there was one reason they did this on purpose, so the game gets more hyped, you know? And, like, about the original Diablo beta, like, the content up to Skeleton King was fantastic. Like, did you play the Diablo 3 beta before it came out?
Yeah.
It was, like, awesome.
Yeah.
Like, Rip was playing for, like, 2 months, 10 hours a stream just to, like, min-max everything, and everyone who played the beta was so much fun. Like, it made you want more, you know? And then you got the rest of the game. You had to buy the game. Of course, everyone bought the game after the beta, and, yeah. You know what happened then.
Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe they just knew that giving them the first 15 or 13 levels would get them hooked.
Yeah, they sold, like, it was the most selling PC game, so of course it worked.
Yeah, I guess I wonder if it was worth it.
I'm really happy that they made the open beta because, like, so many changes have already been happened based on player feedback, you know?
Yeah.
Like, every class has been completely reworked from, like, day 1 of the Reaper of Souls beta to now. A lot of things have been changed. Like, the Felon Rifts are completely different now. Legendaries are completely different. Like, pretty much everything is, like, much better now than when the game originally came out.
Yeah, I think Reaper of Souls will be a lot more polished than vanilla.
The feedback like helps so much.
Yeah.
Like, the Diablo players they're excellent players. They're really sticking true to the game and give excellent feedback as well. And that really helps in the game. Because, I mean, you know, Blizzard has limited resources. They can't test everything, you know?
Yeah.
Internally. That's impossible. They tried to do that with, like, the original Diablo, but that didn't work out, you know?
Yeah, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you still remember, like, the release days of Diablo? Did you play since day 1?
Yeah.
Like, they won the first... Like, I didn't have much time to play because I was studying, but I was watching, like, Crip, and he, like, one day he just farmed the chest over and over.
Yeah.
There was, like, there was a resplendent chest, and he would just equip full magic fan and farm this over for, like, 10 hours straight before they fixed it. And then a fiend level to, like, he tried to get Inferno World first. He leveled 4 monks, and with Serenity would, like, buff the group or something back then, so you would always be completely vulnerable.
Yeah, they had a rotation. It was like Serenity, Seven-Sided Strike,
Yeah.
something else. I can't remember. But yeah, it was
And then there
pretty
was
sick.
Wilson exploit, you know? Do you know about that one?
Which exploit?
Wilson exploit.
Oh no, I don't
But,
think so.
no, that was pretty much, he was able to use his abilities unlimited and never die. Because he got unlimited Furious Charge and it would always heal him up with no cooldown.
Dang.
It was completely OP and broken, but also got nerfed then.
And Living Lightning on the Wizard was super. The proc rate was way too high.
There was also like about Wizard with the life per second.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
some people with like 500 HP and like 10,000 life per second and would never die.
yeah, with the force
Like,
armor.
and I believe like so they can only take like 50% damage of a believer or something.
Yeah.
Instead of life per second, like made them vulnerable.
Yeah, force armor, so they could only take a third of their health. Yeah, that was pretty OP for a while. They
Did you
in
play
the
Wizard at release?
sorry, what was that?
Did you play Wizard at release?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
I played Witcher. Yeah, so I used that exploit for a little bit. The first patch they put in, they just completely disabled critical mass. They didn't even fix it until the patch afterwards. So critical mass just did nothing for one patch.
Mm,
It's pretty funny.
yeah. Bar was back then in the days like 1 and shield. 2 Siegebreaker runs, get 5 stacks. Game was pretty tough.
Yeah, yeah, it was fun, but I enjoyed having to inch my way through Inferno for a while, but it got boring after a while, I guess.
Mm. I mean, it was fun for me, but like for the majority of people, like they had to like use the auction house to progress, and that just sucks.
Yeah,
Like the
No,
real
yeah.
auction house.
yeah, the auction house was just a huge flop. I can't believe how expensive. Like the first few months of Diablo before the real money auction house went live, people were spending like $25 or more for 1,000,000
There
gold.
was like a lot of third-party trading.
Yeah,
Like the gold sellers, they made so much money in the
Yeah.
first few weeks before the real money auction house went live. It was crazy. Like every day I would check eBay, and there would be like 100,000 euros sale. Like some people even sold like stuff direct on eBay. That was an Echoing Fury that sold in like the first week for 1,000 euro.
that's crazy.
Not to mention Ebit's Echoing Fury.
Yeah, yeah, that's oh man, that person whoever
$10,000.
bought it must have been upset.
Yeah.
That's crazy. All right.
All right.
Well, yeah, I don't play as much Diablo as I'd like to, but I usually hop on a few times a week. Maybe we can play together sometime.
You're gonna go full time when the expansion comes out, or are you gonna?
Yeah, for at least a few weeks, I'll play like nonstop.
Mm.
But yeah, I don't know how long I'll be able to because I got other stuff going on now, unfortunately.
Well, no, unfortunately, it seems like you're having fun with the start of 2 months.
Yeah, I'm really excited about the StarCraft game. It's just, I guess it's sad to not. I miss my viewers and you guys.
Mm.
But yeah, things are good for the most part.
All right then.
Cool. Well, yeah. I hope you're enjoying being back home. I tune into your stream every once in a while, so I'll probably be watching you soon.
Mm. See ya. Bye.
Cool. See ya.